So thanks for joining me in this inaugural edition of Full Day, the Late Night Show. I am Vin Martin Obiora Ilo, and I'm so glad, so excited that we're starting this journey together. Tonight, we'll be bringing you an interview talking about the party primaries in Anambra State. Also tonight, we'll be talking to TOPE FASUA, the President's Special Advisor on Economic Matters. We'll talk about the Trump tariffs and the Nigerian economy. Of course, I also have in the studio, already seated, a very dear friend, and I'm so glad that he's here on this inaugural edition of our program. I'll be introducing him in a moment, so don't go away as we look at those things that are trending. The Take It Back movement-led protests took place in a number of cities in Nigeria, especially in Lagos, Port Harcourt, and Abuja. In Port Harcourt, officers of the Rivers State Police Command fired tear gas at protesters gathered at Isaac Borough Park in Port Harcourt, the Rivers State capital. The protesters, who are members of the Take It Back movement, were greeted by heavy police presence when they gathered at the protest venue as early as 9 a.m. Policemen gave the protesters a hot chase and beat up some of them, including journalists reporting the event. The protesters had earlier told the policemen that they had informed the police command of their intention to stay the demonstration in a letter dated April 3, 2025. One of the protesters had told reporters that the peaceful protest was to express their grievances to the government. The demonstrator listed some of their grievances to include the repeal of the Cybercrime Act and the suspension of Governor Siminalayi Fubara. Similar protests also took place in Lagos, Oyo, and other states of the Federation, with demonstrators demanding good governance. And talking about the protest in Abuja, the protest was aborted by security agents who took proactive measures very early Monday morning to truncate efforts of the Take It Back movement. Correspondent CHIMEZIE NZEDINMA, who covered the protest, now reports.
As early as 8:30 a.m. on Monday morning, security operatives made up of the police, the civil defense and DSS had blocked off all access roads to the National Assembly, where the protesters said they would converge. They prevented journalists and television cameramen from recording their presence and their many operational vehicles with which they blocked all access to the National Assembly. The roads became deserted. A few hundred meters from the National Assembly at the Eagle Square, the police was in full ceremonial order celebrating the 2025 Police Day. At the Unity Fountain in Maitama, the protesters were not even allowed into the venue's men firing tear gas at them and arresting a number of journalists who were covering the protest. But the Lagos area, where security operatives took over strategic locations, especially government building, protesters converged in the streets, singing and protesting the hard times and the plight of the ordinary Nigerians. The organizers have promised to continue with their protests until the government reconsiders its policies, which have created poverty as well as the emerging rule imposed on Rivers State. In Abuja, I am CHIMEZIE NZEDINMA for Signature TV.
NZEDINMA is joining me live in this, all the way from Abuja. CHIMEZIE, how are you tonight?
I'm good, very good, thank God.
CHIMEZIE, you were out all day. Do you mind taking down the volume of your whatever you're using to monitor? It's actually interfering in this conversation.
Okay, is this better?
I think it's better. So tell us exactly what happened. A day before, the protesters had talked about how they were going to take over Abuja. But it looked like the police were smarter than them today, and they were there before they even assembled.
Okay, it was really a contradictory situation because today happens to be the maiden celebration of Police Day. So police were everywhere. The security personnel were everywhere. So it was really a contradiction and a not so good day for the Abuja protesters. Initially, based on reports, they were meant to converge on the National Assembly ground. But on getting there, the whole place were deserted from protesters. Only security personnel were there.
Was it because the protesters were not showing up, or because they had been, a lot of times in Abuja, when protests are threatened, you find out that the police start from the border towns to restrict movement of people coming into the city. Was that what happened this morning?
One could allege it was due to the celebration, the Police Day celebration, which was happening directly in front of the National Assembly. That's the Eagle Square.
Okay.
So from the National Assembly down to Unity Fountain Gate was padlocked shut. Security personnel in front of it. So down to Transcorp Hilton Junction, that was where the protesters were protesting. Security personnel were there. The protesters were chanting and with their placards and everything. Showore was also there with the protesters addressing them. And the protesters were 50 there about. They weren't so much in Abuja.
So would you said something about the contradiction. Today was the first time we are celebrating the National Police Day. And then how did the police show that they were our friends and that it was good for Nigeria to be celebrating them in their conduct today, from what you saw?
Sorry, I didn't get that question very well.
I said you talked about the contradiction. That we are celebrating for the first time the National Police Day. And then we have citizens of Nigeria also protesting. So I was asking, did you think that the police showed that truly they were our friends, the way they conducted themselves and the way they related with the protesters?
That's truly a contradiction. Celebrating themselves for an alleged good work, but yet dispersing peaceful protesters with tear gas, which really affects people if you look at the effects of the tear gas. Not wanting to know who were there, because we had journalists being abducted, we have pregnant photographers, professional media photographers there as well covering the event. And
were they attacked?
The tear gas were used to disperse all of them. So with the whole tear gas, everyone ran for their safety, and some journalists were picked up. But we had no update on if they were eventually released, but in the course of the whole escalation of the protest, some journalists were picked up.
Okay, let me ask you, we've had protests and journalists confronted those that were protesting, and sometimes they said, why are you protesting? And a lot of them didn't know why they were protesting. The ones you talked to today, did they know why they were protesting?
Yes, they did know why they were protesting. And this actually, the act that was showcased today was one of the main reasons they were protesting. Because one of it is the misuse of Cybercrime Act, trying to stifle the work of journalists, social media influencers, and opposition voices. Peaceful protest is valid in every democracy. Media personnel are allowed to video and make reports of things happening in a country as long as they are not being biased, as long as they are saying it as it is, giving details to the public, serving the public.
Okay, let me ask you finally, from what you saw, and I'm sure you spoke with some of the protesters today, do you think they'll be there tomorrow?
I'm not certain for tomorrow, but I'm sure they will come back again. They will come back again, because today was really a contradictory, because I was also taken aback when I found out today is a maiden celebration of the police day, and police personnel, both land and abroad, were everywhere. Talking about helicopters flying.
Maybe, Chimezie, they were really just trying to keep the peace and make sure that the country was at peace. Maybe they were just doing their job. Or you don't think so?
It was, as I said, just 50 there about with placards. You could literally let them make their statement, walk right around, do what they want to do, and just make sure everything is orderly, than dispersing them with tear gas. You didn't have to go forcefully. You didn't have to take them forcefully.
Thank you.
Because I'm sure they were only holding placards.
Thank you, Chimezie NZEDINMA, our Abuja correspondent. And thank you for weighing in. Just like we were saying now, the National Police Day was celebrated in a colorful ceremony that brought together top security officials, dignitaries, and members of the public this Monday. The event, which took place at the Eagle Square, Abuja, marked the first official observance of National Police Day. And the National Police Day, we are told, is an annual commemoration which has been institutionalized by President Bola Tinubu to honor the sacrifices, courage, and dedicated service of police officers nationwide. The Eagle Square ceremony featured parade, award presentations, and display showcasing the operational capacity of the police. Families of fallen officers, retired personnel, and active duty officers were all part of the historic event. Later on in the program, we'll be speaking with Lawrence Alobi, a former commissioner of police of the FCT and a lawyer. Let's take you to the United States, where President Donald Trump said on Monday he will impose an additional 50% tariff on China if Beijing does not withdraw its retaliatory tariffs on the United States. In an earlier Truth Social post, Trump said the Federal Reserve should cut rates and claimed that oil prices, interest, and food prices were down. Major stock indexes were down as the White House denied a report that U.S. President Donald Trump is considering a 90-day pause in tariffs for all countries except China. And still trending, the tariff still trending. The range of U.S. tariffs decided last week by President Donald Trump is hitting 380 billion euros worth of EU exports to the United States. EU Trade Commissioner Maros Sefcovic told reporters on Monday the EU is responding to the Trump administration's tariffs on steel, aluminum, and automobiles, as well as a blanket 20% levy on other goods by imposing its own tariffs. EU negotiators had not seen engagement that would lead to what they called a mutually acceptable solution, the commissioner said.
The current trade situation with the United States, our most significant partner, is in a tough spot. A range of tariffs is hitting a significant portion of EU exports. In fact, 380 billion euros worth of EU exports to the US. So we are talking here some 70% of our total exports are facing tariffs of 20% or 25% or even higher when combined with existing most favored nation tariffs like 27.5 5% duty on passengers' cars altogether.
7-nation bloc is expected to produce a larger package of countermeasures by the end of April as a response to U.S. car and reciprocal tariffs. However, in a war of tariffs on goods, Brussels has less to target than Washington, given U.S. goods imports into the EU totaled 334 billion euros in 2024 against 532 billion euros of EU exports. Later on this program, we'll be speaking with the President's Special Advisor on Economic Matters, Dr. FASUA. But meanwhile, Nigerian government has decided to approach the World Trade Organization to seek for an amicable resolution of President Donald Trump's tariff issues. The Nigerian government said it is avoiding retaliation on the 14% tariffs imposed on the country's exports by Trump. In response to the recent tariff announcements, Nigeria remains actively engaged in consultations with the U.S. and the WTO and approaching evolving trade dynamics with pragmatism and a commitment to mutually beneficial solutions, Trade Minister Jumoke Oduwole said in a statement. Those are the trending issues tonight. We'll take a very short break and we'll be back in a moment.
We are local.
We are right now with the wife of the man that was...
Why the meat market is in chaos. People
We are national.
Those in support of this motion as amended say aye.
We have taken you by default.
We are international.
Israeli airstrikes.
Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
Well, joining me by Zoom from Lagos is the President's Special Advisor on Economic Matters, Dr. TOPE FASUA. Dr. FASUA, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Good evening.
Good evening. You know that the President of the United States, President Trump, has come up with these tariffs, and Nigeria has 14%, which is, of course, one of the lowest globally, but one of the highest if you consider African countries. Looking at what the government of President Tinubu has done in the last a couple of months old as a government, do you think we're in a good place to say that these tariffs won't affect Nigeria profoundly?
Okay, well, the thing is that, thank you very much for the question, but it's in two ways. In the first place, we look at what we sell to America, what we export to America. The trade volume is around $6 billion. However, the majority of what we sell to America, I mean, as at the last data that we have, is crude oil and gas. We have information that, in the first place, crude oil and gas is exempt from, the tariff, because the United States is exempting anything that has to do with fuel that runs industries and cars and so on from that tariff. That's one. In the second instance, we also understand that, look, we also have local refineries to take care of, and we've maybe not been able to find enough for them. For example, if all of them were running at capacity. And if some of the new ones like Bua Refinery come on board, our local production will barely be enough. So that's it. So we need to worry about the remaining. There are things like lead being exported to the US. There's also urea, which is fertilizer, being exported to the US, which makes up the remaining, let's say, 0.5 billion to 0.6 billion. That is a concern. However, mind you that the tariff that we're talking about, who pays now? When they say 14% tariff, what it means is that any United States entity that is importing from Nigeria will have to pay. It makes it more expensive. It increases. It has a chance of increasing inflation in the US. And that's it. But we've seen the way the market has reacted. This evening, I was looking at the news, and I think the European Union has made some initial move to reach a rapprochement with the United States by proposing a zero tariff both ways. But also, they've stated that they're also ready for an all-out tariff war or trade war, if that's the case. If that's what the US wants.
Let me come in here, Dr. FASUA. Let me come in here. The Nigerian government is saying that they are not going to go into any retaliatory tariff war with the United States. They will rather go through the WTO to see how they can reach a solution that will be beneficial to the two countries. Is that the position of the Nigerian government, that whichever way it goes, they will rather just be negotiating? They won't take any action, any retaliatory action. Can you explain how that works for us?
Yes, invariably I will have to quote my superiors on that one. There's a coordinating minister for the economy, who also is a minister of finance. There's a minister for trade. These are my superiors in the structure. And from everything they've said and the engagement so far, and also from our disposition ab initio as a leader in Africa and a respected country around the world, yes, we will not be getting engaged in any brickbats with the United States. I doubt if we will. Even the disposition of Mr. President is not like that. We have no need to do that. But I've told you, and mind you, so we're talking about 0.6 billion of export to the US. Importation from the US is larger, much larger in terms of volume. From the last time I checked, it hovers actually between about 15 to about $20 billion. Of course, sometimes we do import refined products from them, but also other materials that are sophisticated, like phones, cars, all those kind of things that are quite sophisticated across the board. So that's it. So, I mean, go back to your question, the initial question about, how it's going to affect us. It is very, very important to note that, the markets are tanking around the world. Initial reaction, hopefully the markets will settle down, because if markets don't settle down and people are predicting a recession, first in the US or even the global recession, that's where there'll be a problem in terms of really affecting us, because if the global economy slows down, of course, crude oil prices have gone down. Well, it went down, but it went up about $2-3 today. We're monitoring that. We are hoping that the problem doesn't continue for too long.
It's okay. Dr. FASUA, I would let you go in a moment, but you've been trending on the social media because you said that there's no vacancy at ASU Rock and there are no candidates that can square up with Mr. President in an election in 2027. Please, can you just in 2 minutes tell us the point we are trying to make and why you think that there are no competent candidates to stand against the president.
Yes, I think for me significantly because I believe that Mr. President is a unique leader. He's someone that has done what most other leaders in Nigeria have run away from in terms of a profound reform. And he's someone that is actually doing what is required for a much better future for Nigeria. You take the two key reforms in terms of the first one about the Naira, coming in to say, you know what, we can't continue subsidizing people who are arbitraging on the Naira, getting it at 460, offloading at 800 Naira. And then he decided through the central bank governor to reform that space. Today, yes, the Naira is weaker at about 1,550, thereabout. Sometimes it edges to 1,600. But we've seen a scenario where there's a convergence of rates, where even sometimes the official rate is higher than the black market rate, which hardly ever has happened before. And this has also spurred a certain kind of behavioral change by making Nigerians buy more local, think Nigeria, vis-a-vis what we had before, where everything was about importation. And this has also, unleashed quite a bit of liquidity in the state government, even the federal government, and now he's also pushing the local government autonomy, which we have got through the Supreme Court, but that's going through a process now in terms of getting the signatories to those local government accounts. The second reform, which is even more profound, let me just land on this, which is the more profound, which is the petroleum sector reform. You can see what's going on. This has also released the subsidies that used to be hijacked from that trade is now going directly to the state governors and to the federal government, to the local government, and eventually it's trickling down to the people. So I think because of this kind of reforms, which we've gone through the worst of this scenario, and now we're getting to the point where it begins to deliver results. I believe that if we consolidate on those and form the people properly as time goes on, it will be impossible to remove Mr. President. And apart from the fact that the opposition, they really need to get their act together. There are a lot of very big people with big egos there. I say from my own little political experience that those gentlemen will find it difficult to come together before the next election in a way that will actually be formidable to remove Mr. President.
But a lot of Nigerians who will determine the fate of Mr. President in terms of voting keep saying that whatever reforms the president has put in place has not translated to making the cost of living lower, that the price of rice has not come down, the price of garri has not come down, the price of everyday commodities have not come down. So if these are the people that are going to determine who becomes the next president, do you think with all this not coming down, they will still be inclined to voting for Mr. President? Or are there other ways the president wants to come back to power?
So let me just say that, I just have my phone here. I just Googled food prices falling in Nigeria. And so empirically, I just tell you, I can see several, these days survey reveals sustained drop in food prices. This was as at 15th of March. Another report by Business Day says food prices drop eases cost of living crisis. That 20th of February. Nairametrics says Nigeria food inflation drops 23 point something percent as price pressures ease. That's Nairametrics. Daily Trust says that how Nigerians are reacting to falling food prices. That is 17th of February. For the past month or almost 2 months, we've seen sustained decrease in the prices of food. So that's just to say, empirically, it's there. For some reason, people is there, is staring at everybody. It's the elephant in the room. And well, maybe some of the food items that are staple food in Nigeria, maybe this is their season. One could investigate that. For example, you mentioned rice. There's a targeted importation, regime that we are in right now, where the government has allowed for people to import, and clearly, in fact, that has been very clear that it has reduced the price of rice, which is one thing that Nigerians consume a lot.
Okay.
So if it was based on food prices, and then again, inflation has dropped to 23.16% after being rebased anyway to 24.48. It dropped the next month, and with these food price drops and so on, we believe that even in the next month that's coming, the announcement that will come on the 15th of April, we believe that it will
FASUA, we are going to leave it
economic
there.
indices. Yes,
we're going to leave it there. And I must thank you for your time, and
thank you.
I must thank you for your insight, and to say that it's a continued conversation. So I look forward to having you here again in a not very long time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And coming up, we are going to Anambra State, where over the weekend, 3 parties came out with 3 gubernatorial candidates. And joining me for this conversation is Dr. IFEANYICHUKWU OKONKWO, who is a rights and environmental activist and has also played politics in Anambra State. Also to join in that conversation is AFAM ILOUNOH, who is lawyer and political commentator, and I can also add, has also played politics in Anambra State. Don't go away. They will join me in a moment. You're still watching Full Day, the late night show, and I'm Vin Martin Ilo from our studios in Enugu, Nigeria. And joining me right now is Dr. IFEANYICHUKWU OKONKWO, who is a rights and environmental activist. He played a lot of politics in Anambra State so many years ago, where he had been gubernatorial candidate in 1 or 2 elections. But IFEANYICHUKWU OKONKWO is joining me now. Dr. Okonkwo, you're welcome.
It's my pleasure. Congratulations on this maiden edition.
Thank you. And joining us all the way from Abuja is AFAM ILOUNOH, who is a lawyer and political commentator. AFAM, you're welcome to Full Day, the late night show. Well, good. I just wish, AFAM, that your phone could be on landscape for us to see you better. I wish you can do that. Okay, but while you're doing that, Dr. Okonkwo, 3 candidates emerged in Anambra State over the weekend. We have for Labour, we have for APC, and we have for the ruling APGA party. When you look at the candidates, are they bringing any freshness to politics in Anambra State?
Freshness. I think the best way to describe them is whether they are bringing anything new to the system. Because to talk about freshness, it means that they have been able to articulate the democratic measures upon which the citizens will expect something different from the usual political outing in Nigeria. First of all, if you look at the selection process, the selection process is not democratic. The field was very narrow. They used the economic measures to also reduce the number of people that will show interest. I think the entry form is about 30 or 50 million respectively for the parties, and that has eliminated the people who would have brought freshness into the contest. So it's a very narrow field.
Okay, let me go to AFAM in Abuja. AFAM, do you think that the candidates that have emerged that have anything new to offer to the people of Anambra State? Okay, so let's look at the process, because you're already interrogating the process. When you say it was narrow, they used economic factors to weed a lot of candidates who would have brought something new to Anambra politics. Money politics in Anambra, it has always been a challenge. Politics in Anambra has always been for the rich. It does not accommodate the poor. So I've heard people say that if you want to run for governor in Anambra State, for instance, you need to raise like 5 billion. Because, I mean, so how do we address the problem of money politics in Anambra State politics?
It's not unique to Anambra. It is the regime of politics in Nigeria since the coming of this Fourth Republic. When we had opportunity of participating during the midwifing of the two political parties by the military, they gave us logistics, they gave us offices, they also provided transportation, and they also funded the parties. So the only problem that we were manifesting was the issue of the money bags, those who will be influencing the electoral process. So after that regime, it was an open field for people, because looking at our electoral system, the American presidential system is a very corrupt political regime, because the constituencies are larger and the process of selection of the candidates is also very cumbersome, that the parties were managed by people who have no vision of what democracy is all about. They think it's all issue of money and money and money and deployment of the money to produce better results. So if you look at who are the bureaucrats, who are those managing the parties in Nigeria, the people managing the parties don't even know what building a political structure means. They think it is just staying in office. I had the Minister of FCT saying that the PDP were able to sell, form, and made about close to 14 billion naira, but they couldn't pay ground rent for their property of 7 million. So that shows you the reckless. The party system here is from top to bottom. It's not from bottom to top. The party system we are practicing is not the way the American presidential system run in the United States. So there's no idea. It's all about money, money, and money. So how do you, the average earning of the top civil servants in Nigeria, for you to earn 3 or 4 million naira a year, and somebody will pay 50 million to buy for? Okay,
Dr. OKONKWO, let's bring in AFAM ILOUNOH, who is joining us by Zoom from Abuja. AFAM, sorry for the inconvenience. Please, you're welcome to Full Day, the late night show.
Thank you, Vin.
Yes. 3 candidates have emerged in Anambra. We have Chukwuma Soludo for APGA. We have George Moghalu for Labour. And we have Nicholas Okachukwu for APC. Do you think that these candidates have anything new to offer the people of Anambra State?
Well, all the 3 candidates that emerged have their own distinct qualities. Soludo is a sitting governor. We've seen what he has been able to do. Okachukwu is an old workhorse in politics of Anambra State. So also George Moghalu. All of them have things to offer. And talking about how they emerge is that I think is related now. They are already on the starting block. We are looking forward what is their chances of getting to the finish line. George Moghalu, we know him. Okachukwu, we know him. Nicholas Okachukwu, we know him very well. Soludo, we know his antecedents. So all of them are not new to Anambra politics, and Anambrarians know them very well.
Okay, let me just ask you. A lot of people I spoke with say that Nicholas Okachukwu is an expert in winning primaries, but not good in winning elections. Tell me, how does he end up each time winning a ticket? It looks like it's something he knows how to do.
When you're winning a ticket, this is the first time Nicholas is winning a ticket of a major political party. He wins tickets of minor political party. It has been a factor in Anambra politics, but he has never been on a major starting block. So this is his first time of being a major starting block. APC is the national party in the national, and the APC wants Anambra State. NPC wants Anambra State as the Anambra State for all the parties in Nigeria is like the heartbeat of Igbo land. So they need to win the state of Zik, the state of Odumewujuku, the state of Tobo Kadibo, to make Igbo, bring Igbo to the main forum. So Nicholas is a challenge for him to show what he can deliver this time around.
Okay, Dr. OKONKWO, you've been in the politics of Anambra, you've watched the politics of Anambra, and for so many years now, you have been a very critical commentator of governance in general in Nigeria. Looking at these candidates, can you hazard a guess who might, win this election? Which party might win this election? Would you hazard a guess based on what is on the ground? Let's look at Soludo, who is completing his fourth year in his first term. Okachukwu, like AFAM told us, yes, may have won tickets in smaller parties, but this is the first major one for him. Moghalu has been in this game for a long time, a prominent APC member, just held a position that was given to him by APC and now crossed over to Labour. When you look at this whole thing, which party do you think could, make the big impact in Anambra this time around?
It's very simple. It's very simple. Politics is based on constituency interest. It's not based purely on the platform you're running. That will also have some tribute to your success. Let us look at the 3 candidates. 1, where do they come from in Anambra State? Soludo comes from Iswafia, he has only one ward in his political parish. The Okachukwu, his constituency has about 2 wards coming from the neighboring town in Newi. So then the man from Newi, who is Dr. Moralo, has close to 20 wards in his primary constituency. Then look at the local government distribution. Soludo comes from Old Aguata, which are 3 local governments. Moralo and Okachukwu, Dr. Okachukwu, are sharing 4 local governments within themselves. Now, Anambra is a place where most of the politicians have no constituency. You have to have a constituency. Where do you think your votes will come from? Is it the youth? Is it the intellectual group? Is it the working class? Is it those who you feel that can do mobilization? Soludo is a governor in Anambra State with less than 115,000 votes, where the registration is about 1.8 million. So it's a tragedy that people are talking about incumbency. So when you look at the strength of the candidates, now Okachukwu will be coming with support from the party machinery. The party machinery is coming in with, I think APC has about 22 governors, thereabout. I'm not very sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. Labour is lightweight. They're only coming with, because money plays a lot of role in the politics. And now the other issue is the, what you might call the religious politics. It's very dominant in Anambra State. And one thing that will help Okachukwu is that Anambra people do not vote. They don't go to, they will criticize, they don't mobilize, and it's all monetized.
How will it help him?
It will help him because the few that will come are going to be mercenaries, are those who are persuaded to come and vote.
And they'll be more amenable to an Okachukwu.
When you look at the APGA has been in government in Anambra for 20 years, but they've never faced any challenge with a politician that has charisma, that can communicate, that has a program, and have the financial muscle.
Okay, let's ask AFAM to weigh in on this. AFAM, what can you hazard a guess from what you have seen on the ground? Who do you think could lift this trophy?
It's a game of numbers, a game of interest, and there's factors that affect political success. Let me start from Labour Party. Labour Party came into prominence by virtue of P2B's tsunami of 2023 that boosted Labour Party, gave Labour Party the chances they had. The question now is whether the influence is still around, whether the influence is still there. I think because of the internal wrangling of Labour Party, it has whittled down the chances on the influence of they had in 2023. But don't write them off. All the 3 political candidates come from Anambra South. And don't forget the senator from Anambra Central, Victor May, and Anambra North, Dr. Tony Nwoye, are from Labour Party. And 2 of them are very strong political figures in Anambra State. If Dr. Moghalu to harness their support, they might make a very huge impact. That coming to APC, APC is a different ball game. One, APC is a national party in the center, in the federal government of Nigeria. APC have done everything to win Anambra State. They see Anambra State as the trophy of Igbo land. They want Anambra State by all means. Okachukwu is a very strong political figure in Anambra State. He has played politics in Anambra State for a very long time, and he's a well-known figure. No doubt.
So let's look at Soludo. What are his chances?
I'm coming there. So Okachukwu has his own chances. Finally, Soludo is the government, is the incumbent. As an incumbent, he has an edge. Two, Apga has the sentiments of Anambra people. This is our own. This is our party. Three, all of a sudden, from nowhere, Soludo all of a sudden turned the whole thing around, and his performance is coming to the fore. All of a sudden, Anambra security has stabilized. Roads are being built. Things are being done in Anambra. People are seeing it differently. Oh, if we give this man another term, he will do a better job. So Soludo is in a poor position to win the election.
Okay. Thank you. I must thank you so much, Alpha, for your time. And let's look what happens. We keep our fingers crossed. Thanks a million for being part of the show today.
Thank you, Vin.
Yeah, Dr. Okonkwo, you have the last word in another minute.
I don't think it's as easy as the people are saying it. I've told you money politics in Nigeria is a factor. The last APGA have never run an election in Anambra State.
That's facing strong candidates.
That's what I'm telling you. For the first time.
So something could happen.
That's why I said I don't want to look at the report card of the incumbent governor. But incumbency is just opposed to incumbency of the presidency, where you have the power of the officiating and the coercive forces. So it's not the quantity we can look at.
So it's not as easy as they think.
Yes, no, the governor is vulnerable.
There could be big surprises.
The governor is very vulnerable. He can slip off.
Dr. IFEANYICHUKWU, thanks a million. You've always been there for me, and I'm glad you're here at this inaugural edition of The Full Day. Just yesterday, Nigeria lost one of our best brains, Victor Olunloyo, an astute politician and former governor of Oyo State. Olunloyo was born in Ibadan on 4th of April 1995, gained a PhD from St. Andrews University in 1961. At a very young age of 27, Olunloyo was appointed Commissioner of Economic Development for the Western Region in 1962 in the cabinet of Dr. Moses Maje Kudumi. He was reappointed when Colonel Adeyinka Adebayo was appointed military governor of Western State after the coup of 1966 and was later appointed chairman of the Western Nigeria Development Corporation. Of course, in 1983, Olunloyo ran for governor of the old Oyo State and defeated the almighty Bola Ige of the Unity Party of Nigeria and took office in October 1983. It lasted for about 3 months before the coup took him away on the 31st of December 1983. Today, we remember Victor Olunloyo for his great academic and political exploits and his distinguished service to Nigeria. And may his soul rest in peace. Thank you again, Dr. IFEANYICHUKWU, for coming on the show. And that's where we end it today on this inaugural edition of Full Day, the Late Night Show. I am Vin Martin Obiora Ilo from Enugu in Nigeria, thanking you for joining and asking you, let's do it again tomorrow night.